As an unapologetic Chaos fanboy, I kinda go back and forth on this all the time, but I think the Wordbearers are definitely my favorite traitor legion. They are so cartoonishly evil. They're basically an entire legion of chaos-worshipping fanatics that are driven to war by the blasphemous convictions of their faith. And they serve as a pretty good example of just how far somebody can slip into depravity and madness when instructed to do so by their faith or ideology. The Wordbearers march to war chanting unholy hymns to their dark gods, summoning literal hordes of demons to obliterate all the non-believers that stand in their way. And their faith in the ruinous powers doesn't go unrewarded, as the Chaos Gods frequently give them dark blessings to infuse them with even more power. The power armor of the Wordbearers is frequently adorned with flayed human skin. That's normally anointed with a whole bunch of blasphemous and heretical text. And those words of chaos offer them a form of unholy protection against the ignorance of those that would worship false deities. And speaking of gods, the Wordbearers don't actually worship any one chaos god, and they actually view them as a combined pantheon, each one of the primordial four representing an important and intrinsic part of a whole. Over the years, most of the traitor legions have kind of broken up into a whole bunch of different warbands, each one of them being kind of inherently selfish and chasing after their own goals and ambitions. This isn't the case for the Wordbearers though, as because they have a shared faith, they're still pretty much united. And they actually have a system of organization that's pretty reminiscent of the Loyalist Space Marine chapters. You see, the Wordbearers are divided up into what they refer to as hosts, each host having around 1,000 members and led by what is known as a Dark Apostle. And each one of them is basically a demagogue, preacher, warlord. And these guys are a lot more than just battle-hardened preachers, as the gods can use them as a conduit to literally speak through them. And in this way, their voice can be more powerful than even the most notorious of doomsday weapons. You see, these guys' main mission in life is to spread the corrupting influence of chaos as far as they can. And a single sermon from one of these guys can sow the seeds of chaos and anarchy on pretty much any world. It's because of them that there are thousands, if not millions, of secret chaos cults across the worlds of the Imperium. And they stand ready to rise up and spill the blood of their oppressors as soon as the Dark Apostle gives a signal. Now, even before the Wordbearers would inevitably betray the Emperor, they were always a legion based in faith. You see, their Primarch Lorgar was raised on a world known as Colchis, and this was a planet that was pretty much dominated by religion. And Corferon, his adopted father figure, was literally a priest, so faith was an intrinsic part of who Lorgar was as a man. And when he finally met his father, the Emperor of Mankind, he pretty much threw away all those old teachings and was convinced he was a god. And when him and his legion were sent out to bring other human worlds into the Imperium, they would basically spend a whole lot of extra time on these worlds and convince the natives to also worship the Emperor. There was just one tiny little problem. The Emperor was an atheist and was not cool with this. So the Emperor reprimanded Lorgar in front of his legion and the Ultramarines. And then he made the Ultramarines bomb his prize city. It basically had become the epicenter of the Emperor's worship. To say this absolutely broke Lorgar is a massive understatement, as his father and God had rejected him. Now, after a pretty extended period of mourning and soul-searching, Lorgar was still convinced that gods were real, and there had to be others out there that were like the Emperor and would be more than happy to have mortals worship them. So the Wordbearers would set off on a great pilgrimage of enlightenment, and would cast off the gray of their old armor, as they associated the color gray with their previous ignorance. The Wordbearers would inevitably find the Chaos Gods, and the primordial truth of the universe. They were the first to worship chaos and turn from the Emperor's light. Their corruption would inevitably seep through the other legions. It would even corrupt War Master Horus. So you can kind of say the Horus heresy was pretty much their fault.